Hi, I'm Amanda McGill-Johnson with Nebraska Cures. I'm the executive director here. Our mission is to promote, support, and advocate for health science research for the betterment of our health and our economy. And this is Talking Research, a program that we do to just educate Nebraskans about the great research that we have going on in our state. And this is a special installment because we're actually talking about how to become a researcher if you're a student or have a young person in your life who is interested possibly in this as a career track. So I am very fortunate here today to be joined by Dr. Paul Davis of UNO, a professor of biology and the director of the Health Careers Resource Center, and with one of his wonderful students, Sarah Alsuleiman, who's a senior, right, Sarah? And been doing a lot of great work. So welcome, both of you. I will get started, Sarah, with you, and just tell me about what got you interested in medical science and research.
Yeah, so thank you for having us today. Really appreciate that. I'm excited to talk with you. What got me interested in research? So I've always had an interest in science, and I've always known I wanted to be part of something impactful, kind of in that sense. So my first thought was, okay, I want to go to med school. I want to be a physician. And so I thought that I was going to be a doctor and I could not see myself doing anything else. But then at some point, I realized that you could help so many more people doing research. And that's kind of the first moment, aha moment that I had in my head where I realized that, okay, part of what I want to do is help people. So if I can help way more people in research, then maybe I should consider that. But then it wasn't just helping people that got me interested in it. It's also my sense of curiosity that I've kind of always had driving me towards learning. And so when I thought about what I'd want to be doing on the daily for the rest of my life, I figured that I it sounds wonderful just being able to ask any question I want to ask and then go ahead and answer it with other scientists and collaborate with other people and guess just kind of drive my own research in that way. And so um, the idea of being able to pursue that curiosity and just answer questions in that way really excited me. And I at this point cannot see myself doing anything other than research. It really scratches an itch that I didn't even know I had. So that's what got me interested in research, and I'm very happy that I actually got to experience it. And because if I had never worked in a research lab, I would have never known, and I think that would have been really, really unfortunate.
I was going to ask, like, did you already know in high school, or was it exposure in college that made you realize, hey, this could be a career path for me?
It was exposure in college. Absolutely. I mean, I didn't even think of research in high school. I thought I'm interested in science. I want to help people. Okay, I want to go to med school. And then I got to college, and then I started thinking maybe MD, PhD, um, for a lot of different reasons. But then once I fully immersed myself in research, it was like a huge like transformation in my life.
So how did you learn about Dr. Davis and his lab?
I learned about his lab in my introductory bio courses, freshman year of college. And I remember we were just talking about different research opportunities on campus. And I remember one of my classmates telling me that Dr. Davis is doing infectious disease parasitology research. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. So I remember going on his website and just looking at what he does, and then going on PubMed and looking at like what's been published and things like that. And I was like, okay, this is really cool. This is really cool. I wonder if I could do that. So then at some point, beginning of my sophomore year, I sent him an email and I'm like, hey, I'm interested in research, and eventually also applied to the Embry program. And here I am. Here I am. So
That's great. Dr. Davis, can you go ahead and tell me or tell us a little bit about Embry and other opportunities for student researchers?
Sure, I'm happy to. Again, thanks for having me on. And Sarah is just a wonderful example of a student that we have here at UNO who's interested in research. Um, the Embry program, it's a federally funded program, and its purpose is to find people like Sarah. What happens is, at a sophomore level, which is fairly young in college, but at a sophomore level, there's an opportunity for students to apply to learn more about biomedical research. The goal of the program is to identify these students, give them just incredible experiences in the laboratory with other scientists, other people who are thinking about biomedical research, industry, academia, etc. And then to train them via these experiences to go on and to pursue a career in that. So the Embry provides a fellowship for these students who are interested. That fellowship extends not only from their academic year for kind of the fall and spring semesters, but also it provides support for them through the summer. It gives them an opportunity to be immersed in very research intensive organization. Usually our students will spend a summer at UNMC working in a biomedical research laboratory, and then come back onto UNO's undergraduate campus where they continue to learn about how to do research. There's other programs like this. We have an ADEPT program that's focused on supporting research in the defense realm, the Department of Defense areas. And then we have an internal to UNO program called the Funds for Undergraduate Scholarly Experiences. We call them FUSE. And these are led by the student with a professor that helps them, along the process, where they're again supported financially to help do projects that advance their careers, their understanding, and ultimately help science progress to make discoveries that can lead to cures and treatments.
I should note that Sarah, for those viewing, Sarah won one of our Holland Future Scientist Awards, which is given to students in the Embry program who do presentations on their research, and we give financial awards to the top folks, and Sarah was one of those, which is how I connected with her. Dr. Davis, do you want to go ahead and talk a little bit about just the research that you do in your lab?
Yeah, certainly. I think one of the things that students and many others, the general population, may not grasp is that college professors are often involved in doing research, cutting edge research that, in addition to teaching classes and grading assignments and giving out homework and making life generally unbearable for undergraduate students. One of the other things that we do, in fact, a fair amount of our time is directing a research or a scholarly enterprise that helps move human understanding forward. That's really the difference between high school and a four-year undergraduate institution, where the thought process is that someone who's an expert in the field is actually advancing the field and teaching the classroom at the same time. And I don't think we do a great job of helping undergraduates understand that that's what's going on, that the person you're seeing lecturing to you is actually going back into the laboratory and doing that very type of research that they just lectured them on, maybe at a basic level. In Bio 1 and Bio 2 are two introductory laboratories, for instance, but that there's much more going on outside of the classroom. So I say that, hoping that more students will learn that these opportunities are available. My lab, to answer your question, we work on infectious diseases. And as Sarah already mentioned, the infectious diseases we tend to focus on are parasites. These are, organisms that we don't often think about. We know bacteria. We certainly know viruses now more than I think most people have thought about before or like to think about at this point. But I think, maybe when we're, growing up or learning or reading things that are more global, we learn about worms, worms like tapeworms. That's kind of the classic parasite that people think about. And we are interested in some of these worms, but the worms that we're interested in and that Sarah works on are a little bit smaller. You can see them, and they're also in the gut, but they're smaller, and yet they cause profound disease, often far worse than tapeworm. And all the way down to some of the smallest parasites that exist. Another parasite that we work on called Toxoplasma gondii is a parasite that you can acquire from undercooked meat or exposure to an infected cat. And those parasites are so small that you can't see them visually. In fact, they're so tiny that they can crawl inside of your cells. That gives them a huge advantage. They can escape most of your immune response, and they can live inside of you for the rest of your life because they're so well hidden, hiding inside one of your cells or several of your cells. So that's the organisms and the infectious diseases that we work on. And the focus of our laboratory is fairly translational. Our goal is to evaluate promising anti-infective compounds, therapeutics, and to see if we can march them forward ultimately into the clinic. And so that tends to be what Sarah does and what our lab does.
Yeah, Sarah, tell me about what your favorite aspect is of working in the lab or working with parasites.
My favorite aspect is probably it's challenging. It's challenging. So my work, I feel like it's a lot of, it feels like sometimes going in circles or not knowing what the next thing is going to be. And it can be frustrating, but I think that's why I enjoy it, because you just don't know where the research is going to take you. You have no idea what you're going to be doing next month. You can be thinking about something today and then be on a totally different path like next week. I really do enjoy that. And it comes back to why I'm interested in research, because it's like you have no idea where it's going to take you. You have no idea where it's going to take you, and not knowing that part is my favorite part about it.
That's great. Well, what advice do both of you have for young people who are either in high school or maybe a first year of college and are interested in research?
So for me, I would say seek out these opportunities. If you feel like you might be interested in research, try to really find labs that you can work at, different fellowships, those fuse opportunities and INBRE and things like that, where you're able to get hands-on experience. And oftentimes they paid really well. So it's like a win-win situation. But you aren't going to be exposed to research unless you go out there and look for it.
I think the advice that I would give, I have the fortune of overseeing the advising of UNO's about 3,000 pre-health students. Our connections, our strong connections with UNMC, being here in Omaha, gives us an opportunity to attract students who are thinking about a career in healthcare, which is laudable, and we need so many just to fill the needs of the state. And when I talk to these students and ask them, what's the drive, what's the focus for healthcare, almost universally, the response that they give back is, I want to help people. They're bright, they're capable, and they're forward thinking, and they want to use those talents in order to lift someone else, particularly someone who might be suffering from medical ailment. And I love that and value that. And there's so many ways to move forward in helping others. And I think when I talk with people who are coming in from high school and they're young and they're very driven, and I say, okay, well, you want a career in healthcare? Absolutely. Well, what healthcare professions are you aware of? And they're like, oh, there are so many. There's doctor, there's nurse, and there's doctor.
Different types of doctors.
That's right. That's right. And there are more than 200 healthcare professions that are working in the clinic. But I think what we find when we're working with students who are coming in with a strong desire and passion to help is that they're yet unaware of the wide variety of places that one could help in a way that utilizes their skills, their curiosity, their compassion, their intelligence, their drive. And so much to what, the way that Sarah described it, she learned by talking to peers in a class that there was such a thing as research. And she's learned from experience that research is a way to use all of those skills and those interests to help help people who are ailing, who are ill, who need our help. And what excites me about the academy, what excites me about being a university academic research lab is we're not limited by investigating those things that will turn a profit. Much of the work that Sarah and I are doing are going to be helping individuals in countries where money is tight, to say the least, and yet they're suffering from these infectious diseases profoundly. In fact, in many cases, the infectious disease that they have is preventing their whole country, their nation, from being more economically productive because it's causing so many sick days or illness or death. And so I think when students come in and they want to heal, they want to help, learning more about biomedical research through classes, by talking to their professors, by programs like the Embry, by recognition, such as what Nebraska Cures offers to people like Sarah and others. These type of events and things, I think, really elevate the view, the exposure that students get to biomedical research careers. And it's vital, because we want, as a nation, we want to maintain our strong foothold in this space to make sure that biomedical research is being able to help our citizens and also help the globe. And to see it happen here in Nebraska, we can look at diseases that affect Nebraskans, and that's potent, it's powerful.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I saw some polling recently that just shows that nationally, that most people can't name a biomedical researcher company or institution, and just goes to show how just under the radar a lot of research is. I mean, maybe people can now say Pfizer because of the vaccine. Sure. A lot of people may not even know that, right? And so, whether it be UNMC, maybe a stronger attachment, but to know this kind of really awesome work is happening at UNO, I think is significant, and how it is such a gateway for better understanding of what scientists are. I loved what you said, Dr. Davis, too, about, a professor isn't just teaching, they're also doing this work, and you have the opportunity to have a lived experience there.
Yeah, and I think, one of the interesting things, and Sarah has been part of this as well, thinking about who we're helping. Some of the work that we've done with the Department of Defense, and Sarah's been a little bit involved in that, to realize that you're helping protect, our warfighters. They're going to very different areas of engagement. We sent them out, across the globe, and they're facing diseases and threats that none of us face here. And so in many ways, they're some of our most vulnerable, and yet some of our most important assets as a country, keeping us safe. And so being able to work directly with the Department of Defense and learning their needs and being able to meet those, and then doing it as an undergraduate and recognizing, the short distance between what you're doing in the lab and watching it play out or assist and aid or inform, some of our government's most vital assets is humbling.
How cool is that? Sarah, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yes, I do, actually. So I have to sometimes remind myself that the work I'm doing is actual real life work. So previously, anything that I would have done in a lab would have been in like a course lab, where I go into a lab. Okay, you're going to pretend you're doing this, like you're going through these procedures, and this is what you do in a lab. Sometimes I have to remind myself that the work I'm doing has actual real life impacts, and I sometimes forget that. And when I remember it, it just gives me chills, because it's so. I mean, I'm so grateful for it that I get to be involved in that. So
awesome. What's next for you, Sarah?
So right now I'm trying to decide between either doing a master's degree still in immunology, infectious disease, or work as a postbac fellow at the NIH. And that's where I'm at right now. So it would be in a lab that is still in immunology, still infectious diseases, and it would be for 2 years. So either way, next 2 years of my life is going to be definitely research. And after that, for sure, grad school.
Big decisions. And Dr. Davis, just seeing the people you mentor and work with, tell me about how rewarding that is or how it feels.
Hands down, probably the most self-serving thing that I get from being a mentor is it keeps me young, right? Being around all of these students who are young and vibrant, and their life is ahead of them, and they bring so much energy and passion mixed with compassion. And the aha moments that they have, I think it keeps me young. And it's a thrill. It's also awesome to work with students who are driven and motivated, and getting to discover aspects of careers that they hadn't thought possible, or they didn't think they were capable of, or they didn't know about. I think watching that and watching where my students have gone over the years has been terribly rewarding. But also watching how it's blessed, populations. Another project that we work on is related to an infectious disease that happens here very much in Nebraska. It's an agricultural disease, and it has the potential to affect Nebraska economy, and so making sure that we're staying one step ahead of that. I think maybe it helps us, just like Sarah said, it helps us recognize when we go home at the end of the day, we're making a difference. It's challenging, it's hard, we don't know all the answers, and it's just frustrating. But I think that is the thrill of biomedical research, is being thrown, and you never know what you're going to discover. But it is going to make a difference.
Well, this has been a delightful conversation. I love both of your energies. And Sarah, like as an organization, we're about to release a Women in STEM report. We can look at women in science and just barriers and opportunities. So I'm so excited to feature a young woman, and a lot of the Embry students, there are a lot of women in that program, which is really exciting. And I'm sure Dr. Davis, you've seen increases in young women being engaged in science. And so hip, hip, hooray. And however we can support you moving forward is great. Thank you both. Do you have either of you have final thoughts before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you again for all the amazing experiences I've had, and the Holland Future Scientist Award. Like Dr. Davis said earlier, those types of experiences and recognitions really energize young scientists, and I can say that from experience that's been the case. So yeah, those are really appreciated.
I'd echo what Sarah says. Sarah is not the first student who's won the Holland Future Scientist Award in my laboratory, but there are some commonalities. The commonalities is that these students come into UNO thinking, I hope I chose the right school. I hope I chose the right program. And I'm average. They think to themselves, maybe they're a little bit above average. Maybe they do well in their classes. But it's programs like Embry, it's programs of recognition like the Holland Award, and Nebraska Cures the support there. Those things open the minds and ultimately the future of these students who just think, I'm just a student, and they go on to change the world. And it's amazing to watch Sarah where she is now, and to watch some of these other students. It's neat. If a student is thinking, oh, who am I and what can I do? Or maybe the only thing I can do is see one patient after another and after another. That's the way I can make a difference in the world. I would say there are more than one way to make it a profound difference in the world. And Sarah is a perfect example of that. And to get recognition along the way.
Well, thank you both for joining us, and thank you to folks who are viewing this at home. Take care.